Let's talk about protein powder supplement recommendations. Now, first of all, first things first, straight up front, I don't get any money from any supplement company whatsoever. So if a particular brand pops up, it's not because I'm being paid by them. It will be because I've used that product in the past and I think it's good, or I still use it now and I still think it's good. So that's the only sort of recommendation I'm going to give you. It's something that I've used, I think is pretty good and probably offers you some value for money, but not doing it because I'm getting paid for it, because no one wants to pay me to use their supplements just yet. That's where we're at. Now, we're going to talk about protein powder recommendations. So one of these questions dropped into my DMs, which was basically, could I give any protein powder recommendations? Because it was giving this person a little bit of a mindfuck as to what protein powder they should use, and is there a particular brand that's any good, and could you use it whenever you want, or is it just snacks? Is it post-workout? All these different sorts of things. So let's get through some of this sort of stuff and give you some useful, practical protein powder recommendations. Now, the first thing first is you do not need a protein powder of any description in order to achieve your goal. Now, they are convenient, they are useful, I use them, my clients use them, but I don't force my clients to use them. It's just there as a means for you to get more protein into your diet if that helps you achieve a specific goal. That's it. That's all it needs to be thinking about, really. Now, there would be some potential subtleties around that. Whey protein being faster digesting, maybe that might be important for your specific goal in certain situations. Again, great, but I'm sure that those people who have that as their goal and would be important for them already know that. So they're probably not going to watch this or listen to this. So let's talk about isolate versus concentrate. What's the freaking difference? Now, the main difference would be that isolate has the lactose removed. Now, obviously, if you're lactose intolerant or you're lactose non-persistent would be the other sort of thing, which is not necessarily full-on lactose intolerance. You may be able to tolerate a small amount of milk or dairy, and therefore you could still have some form in your diet. Now, if that's the case, then that would help you to have protein powders, whey protein powders, and still not have any of that distress in the back end, let's say. Now, I, for one, and someone who has a whey protein isolate for that exact reason. Works really well for me. I have no issues. And again, you've got to find like where's the balance for you. So if whey protein isolate works for you from that like gastric, that digestion point of view, then maybe that's the better option. But in terms of actually making progress, gains, all that sort of good stuff, then concentrate versus isolate, really no difference whatsoever. Maybe in a concentrate you get slightly different macronutrient breakdown. Maybe it's slightly higher calorie because it might have a little bit more carbs and fat in it. But in the grand scheme of things, that's probably not going to be anything you need to really worry about. Plus, concentrate is probably going to be a little bit cheaper, and we all like to make gains on the cheap. That's for sure. So unless isolate is this thing that you actually need for your dietary purposes, or it meets a specific goal requirement, or it's cheap, or you just like the fucking taste of it, then cool, concentrate will be absolutely perfectly fine. You know, you are not losing weight, or you are not making progress in the gym because you're having concentrate versus isolate. It's not really going to be the big difference factor. Now, in terms of like brands that I've used in the past and that I would probably happily recommend for free, like I'm saying, is I would use Optimum Nutrition, Legion, Protein Works, MyProtein. They're the ones that I've used in the past and I can still use to this day. They would be ones that I kind of would say to clients is, you know, these are ones I've used. If you want to use them, cool, go for it. If not, cool, use your own, whatever. The other thing then is, when do you use it? So the answer to this one is pretty simple. Whenever it's fucking convenient to use it. Now, most of the time that's going to be post-workout. So you're going to say, right, okay, I've finished my workout. I'm probably going to get some benefit within the first few hours of having some protein. Therefore, the quick and easy thing is a protein shake. You don't have to have a protein shake. You can have a normal meal, but sometimes that's the most obvious place to have it. Now, there's nothing wrong with having a protein shake at any other time of the day. Again, it is just filtered milk, so you could have it with your porridge in the morning to boost the protein content of your breakfast. You could have it as your lunch if you're trying to save calories, have a very light lunch. You could just have a protein shake for lunch. Boom. You could have it in between, a little bit of a snack, maybe as pre-workout, whatever. You can have it any time of day. It doesn't really matter. Now, the thing to bear in mind is that you probably don't want to live off them though. You know, if you're having more than 2 or 3 a day, maybe, again, depending on person, situation, all that sort of stuff, is that maybe I'd get you to rethink that, or at least kind of question if that's the right approach. Because yes, it's high in protein, yes, it's high in quality protein, but it's not got many other nutrients with it. So if you're substituting this for meals and things like that, are you creating the opportunity for a nutrient deficiency of some description? Now, you could arguably be perfectly fine getting all the nutrients you need and still having 2 or 3 protein shakes or more per day. Absolutely, you could 100% be in that situation. But you might be where you're just relying on these protein shakes and protein shakes and protein shakes and not really getting nutrient-dense foods into your diet. So one thing is to really kind of think about that. Am I just picking this convenient option and then thinking nothing about nutrient content across the course of the day? So make sure that on balance, when you look at the day's worth of food that you're eating and consuming, that if you've got a high amount of protein shakes, you are getting the nutrients you need elsewhere throughout the day and elsewhere in your diet. Now, the other thing to be considerate of is maybe a bit of gas and a little bit of bloating. So the protein farts are kind of real. Now, if you're having multiple protein shakes per day, that could be a cause of a little bit of excess gas and bloating, which you might want to get rid of for the sake of those around you not wanting to smell your stinky protein farts. So if that's the case, just trial and error, really. Cut back on a couple of protein shakes, see if that clears up that particular issue, and then you can move forward from there. But really, you kind of don't have to fear having multiple protein shakes. It's not going to do you any harm. But obviously, if you do have this sort of gas, bloating, if you are substituting protein shakes and not getting enough nutrients elsewhere, these are the times when you might think, actually, is this the best strategy for health? Because yes, you can still lose body fat, you can still lose weight because calories, calorie deficit and all that. But you've got to start thinking about, okay, what's best for a health perspective? What I'm trying to make my nutrition more optimal, etc., etc., etc. The next one then is whey or casein protein. Now, we've talked about this before on the show and the difference between whey and casein protein. Now, casein protein is generally best in the evening. It's slow release. There's some studies out there that show that it helps reduce muscle protein breakdown, which could be beneficial. And therefore, having casein protein in the evening is a good strategy. However, you don't necessarily need a protein powder supplement in order to achieve that. For example, 0% fat Greek yogurt, as just one example, is pretty much pure casein protein. So having that later into the evening would necessitate the same actual responses of helping to prevent muscle protein breakdown, and you haven't had to fill your cupboards with another fucking 5 kilo tub of protein that's going to take you forever to get through. So it's a case of when it comes to casein, I think that in most cases, you're not really going to need it. It's not really going to be that beneficial. It's probably in most cases not worth the extra expense. So I would stick to kind of more, I guess, quote unquote, real foods, although protein is a real food. So let's not get into that debate. But not necessarily picking a specific casein protein supplement for that reason, unless, again, it suits you, it's convenient, it suits your budget, and you're not creating some sort of deficiencies because you're just living off of powder with potentially not many other nutrients in it. Now, other protein powder recommendations that we just want to dive in real quick fire would be soya protein is fine. It's not going to get you man boobs and shit like that. It's not going to cause you to produce too much estrogen. It's fine. If you want to choose soya, choose soya. The other thing would be if you are a vegan, then you can look at a protein blend. So something that's got like pea, rice, hemp, all those sorts of things. That blend is going to help you with that amino acid profile. so that you get the amino acids that you need in one shake. Probably going to have slightly more. The scoop's going to be slightly bigger because you probably need more protein versus someone who has animal products. And I have to confess, I've got no brands because I don't fucking use them. So I wouldn't be comfortable recommending a specific brand if I've never used it. So I've never used a vegan protein. So sorry, I haven't got a specific recommendation for you. Now, the other thing around protein powders is that I would always look out for, on the back of a label, anything that says proprietary blend. Now, proprietary blend basically means is that we're not telling you what's in our fucking protein. We're just going to hide it from you because it's probably got a mixture of different protein sources, most of which are lower quality and therefore cheaper for them to produce, bigger margins, make more money. Seems like a dodgy fucking thing to do. So if it says proprietary blend on the ingredients label, when you look at the ingredients, if it just says proprietary blend, fucking run a mile and go for something that is a bit more open and transparent when it comes to those ingredients lists. So that's a quick whistle-stop tour of protein powder recommendations. So first of all, you don't fucking need one. That's the first recommendation. Next one, isolate versus concentrate. Concentrate will be just fine. It's cheaper, you'll still make the gains. Isolate, only real difference is a slight difference in the macros, plus it's got the lactose removed, so if you have an issue with that, maybe that's the better option. In terms of when to use it, whenever you fucking want is the real answer. It doesn't have to be just post-workout. It could be with a meal to boost the protein content. It could be to replace a meal if you're trying to save calories. It could be as a snack. It could be pre-workout. And it could, of course, be post-workout. When it comes to whey versus casein protein, casein is generally speaking best in the evening to help prevent muscle protein breakdown. But buying a specific supplement for that, a specific casein protein powder supplement, is probably overkill for most people, and opting for something like 0% fat Greek yogurt, again, that's just one example, but that is a way of getting casein into your diet really, really easily without creating the need for more and more slightly expensive supplements. So hopefully that really kind of cleared things up for you and gave you the clarity you need on protein powder supplementation.